The night was quiet, almost too quiet. The streetlights were weak and tired, giving only a soft yellow glow. It was close to midnight, and most people were already sleeping. Only one man was walking on that lonely road, Arman. Single father who had just finished his long shift at work. Arman walked with slow steps. His body was tired, but his mind was even more tired. He kept thinking about his little daughter, Aliyah, who was probably waiting for him at home, sleeping with her small teddy bear. Every night he tried to return early, but life was hard, and money was always short. Still, he smiled, thinking of her cute face. She was the only light in his dark life. But tonight, something felt strange. Arman stopped walking. He looked around. The wind was cold, and the street was empty. But he felt something heavy in the air, like danger hiding in the shadows. Suddenly, a sharp sound cut through the silence. A cry. A woman's cry. Arman froze. His heart started beating fast. He was unsure. Maybe he heard wrong. Maybe it was only a cat or a drunk man shouting. But then he heard it again. Louder this time. Please. Stop. Help me. This was no mistake. Someone was in trouble. Arman's eyes widened as he looked ahead. At the corner of the road, near an old abandoned shop, he saw 3 dark figures. They were standing around someone. Someone lying on the ground. A girl. And they were hitting her. Hard. Arman felt fear first. He was just one man. They were 3. And they looked strong. He thought of Aliyah. If he got hurt, who would take care of her? His body whispered, "Walk away." But his heart shouted, "Help her. She will die." For a moment, he stood frozen between fear and responsibility. He wanted to run, but he couldn't. He couldn't ignore a helpless girl crying for her life. Arman took a deep breath. His hands were shaking. But he stepped forward. As he got closer, he saw the girl more clearly. She was young, maybe in her early 20s. Her clothes were torn, and her face was covered in tears and dirt. She raised her hands to protect herself, but the men kept kicking her. One of them grabbed her hair and pulled her up cruelly. "Please, no more," she whispered, her voice almost gone. Arman's blood boiled. He felt anger rising inside him. Without thinking, he shouted, "Hey, stop. Leave her alone." The 3 men turned sharply. Their eyes were full of anger. They didn't look scared. They looked ready to fight. One of them stepped forward. "Who are you?" He growled. "Mind your own business." Arman swallowed hard. His legs felt weak, but he didn't move back. "This is my business now," he said, trying to sound strong even though fear shook inside him. The men laughed. A cold, cruel laugh. The biggest one walked toward. "Arman, you want to die tonight? Fine, come here." Arman took a step back. His heart was racing. He wanted to run away. Every part of his body screamed for him to stop. But then he looked at the girl. She was trying to crawl away, her hands shaken. If he left, she would die. Arman lifted his voice again. "Run!" he shouted at the girl. "Go. I will stop them." But the girl was too weak. She tried to stand, but her legs gave up. She fell again. The men started moving toward Arman, surrounding him. The street was silent, except for their footsteps. No one else was watching. No one else was coming to help. Arman's heart felt like it would break his chest. He didn't know if he could fight them. He didn't know if he would reach home alive tonight. But he knew one thing. He could not let an innocent girl die. In front of his eyes, the men closed in. Arman clenched his fists, and the night suddenly filled with danger. This was the moment that would change his life. Forever, the 3 men slowly closed the circle around Arman. The cold wind blew across the empty street, but sweat formed on Arman's forehead. His hands were shaking, yet he kept them up, ready to defend himself. He was not a fighter, not a hero, and certainly not a brave man by nature. He was just a tired single father. But tonight, he had no choice. The biggest attacker stepped forward first. He had a thick beard, angry eyes, and a grin that showed he enjoyed hurting people. Last chance, he said. Walk away if you want to live. Armin's voice was low but firm. I am not leaving her. The man laughed, then swung his fist straight at Armin. The punch landed hard on Armin's cheek. Pain flashed through his head. His vision blurred for a second, and he staggered back. But instead of falling, he forced himself to stand again. The second attacker moved in, trying to grab Armin's collar. Armin quickly pushed him away. He didn't know what he was doing. His body was moving on fear and instinct. His heart pounded like a drum. Every breath burned. The girl on the ground, still trembling, lifted her head weakly. Her eyes widened when she saw Armin fighting for her. She tried to get up again, but her arms gave out. She could only whisper, "Please, stop." One man noticed her trying to escape. He turned toward her. "She's not going anywhere," he growled. Armin panicked. "No, don't touch her." He rushed toward the man, but the biggest attacker blocked him with a strong punch to the stomach. Armin bent forward, gasping for air. The man grabbed Armin's shirt and pushed him against the wall. "You think you're a hero?" He hissed. "You're nothing." Armin looked straight into his eyes. That small spark of courage, the kind that appears only when someone has nothing left to lose, returned inside him. He grabbed the attacker's arm and pushed him, away with all the energy he had left. The man stumbled back for a second. Armin used the moment to step between the girl and the attackers again. His body hurt everywhere, but his heart refused to give up. "Run. Please, run." He whispered to the girl again, but she shook her head weakly. She couldn't run. She could barely sit up. The third man, the quiet one with a scar near his eyebrow, suddenly took out a small knife. The silver blade flashed under the dim streetlight. Armin's eyes widened in fear. His legs felt frozen. "Move away from her," the man with the knife said coldly, "or you die." Armin's breath stopped. He knew he had no chance against a knife. But he also knew something else. If he stepped away, the girl would be hurt again. Or worse. Armin took a small step forward instead of backward. The man with the knife narrowed his eyes. "You want to die for her?" Armin didn't speak. He didn't need to. His silence was his answer. Suddenly, a loud noise broke the tension. A window from a nearby house opened. An old man shouted from above, "What's going on down there?" "I'm calling the police." The attackers panicked for a moment. The man with the knife cursed under his breath. "Let's go," he told the others. "But we'll be back." The three men ran into the shadows and disappeared down the street. Armin fell to his knees, breathing heavily. His body felt like it was made of stone. He felt blood on his lip and pain shooting through his ribs, but he didn't care. He crawled toward the girl. "Are you okay?" he asked, his voice shaking. The girl looked at him with tired, tear-filled eyes. "You saved me," she whispered. Armin tried to smile through the pain. "No, I just did what anyone should do." But deep inside, he knew that wasn't true. Many would have walked away, but he hadn't. He gently helped her sit up. "You're safe now," he said softly. "I'll get you help." The girl whispered her name for the first time. "I'm Sarah." Armin nodded, supporting her weak body as he stood. "Don't worry, Sarah. I'm here." And with that promise, he carried her away from the darkness of the street. Not knowing how deeply this night would change both their lives forever, Armin walked slowly, supporting Sarah as she leaned against him. Her steps were weak and shaky. Every few seconds she winced in pain. The street behind them was silent again, but Armin felt the danger still hanging in the air. He kept looking over his shoulder, afraid the attackers might return. They reached a small clinic at the end of the road. The door was half open, and a single light glowed inside. Armin pushed the door gently. The old night duty doctor looked up from his desk, surprised to see two injured strangers at this hour. "What happened?" the doctor asked, rushing toward them. Armin explained quickly. "She was attacked. She needs help." The doctor nodded, helping Sarah sit on the examination bed. Her breathing was slow, and her hands trembled uncontrollably. Armin stood beside her, unsure whether she was scared of the pain or scared of remembering what happened. The doctor checked her wounds, small cuts, bruises, a swollen arm, and scratches on her face. She needs rest, he said. She is in shock, and someone must stay with her for the night. Armand nodded immediately. I'll stay. He sat beside her as the doctor cleaned her wounds. Sarah didn't look at Armand at first. Her eyes were distant, shaking like someone who had seen too much pain. She kept forcing her breath to stay calm. Armand spoke softly. You are safe now. They can't hurt you here. She finally looked at him, her eyes full of fear, confusion, and something deeper. Something old. Thank you, she whispered. Armand gave a small smile. Anyone would help. Sarah shook her head slowly. No one helped me before. You came. Her words touched something inside Armand. He didn't know her story, but he could feel her pain without hearing it. Pain leaves a mark, and Sarah carried many marks. The doctor gave her water and left them alone for a while. Armand sat quietly near her bed. He didn't ask questions. He didn't force her to speak. He simply waited. Minutes passed in silence. Finally, Sarah spoke in a low voice. I wasn't supposed to be outside today. I wasn't supposed to leave home. Her voice cracked. She looked down at her hands. I ran away. Armand didn't judge. He only asked gently why. Sarah took a deep breath. Her lips trembled before the words came out. Because home was not a home anymore. It was a prison. Armand's heart tightened. My fiancé, she continued slowly. He wasn't the man he showed the world. He controlled everything. My phone, my friends, my clothes, my life. Her voice shook like a broken string. Every day he shouted. Every day he pushed. Every day he scared me a little more. Armand listened quietly. I thought things would get better after engagement, she said. But they only got worse. He said I belonged to him. He said I had no right to leave the house without asking. She wiped her tears with shaky fingers. Tonight I finally ran away. I thought I could escape. But he sent men after me. They dragged me back. Until you came? Armand felt anger rise inside him. Anger at the men. Anger at the fiancé. Anger at anyone who thought hurting a woman was power. He spoke softly. You did the right thing. You saved yourself. Sarah closed her eyes tightly. I don't feel safe. I don't know where to go now. Armand took a deep breath. He was a single father, struggling with life, barely surviving each day. But still, every part of him wanted to protect her. You don't have to decide tonight, he said gently. You can rest first. You're not alone. Sarah looked at him again, this time with a small, tired spark of hope. The doctor returned and said, she shouldn't be left alone. Someone must watch her until morning. Armand nodded. I'll watch her. He sat on the chair beside her bed. Hours passed. Sarah finally fell asleep, tears still on her cheeks. Armand kept looking at her, thinking how someone so gentle could suffer so much. He had entered the night expecting only loneliness and a long walk home, but now he was sitting beside a stranger who needed him more than she knew. A broken girl, a restless night, and a story that was only beginning. Morning light entered the small clinic room, touching Sarah's tired face. She slowly opened her eyes, confused for a moment, unsure where she was. Then she saw Armand sitting on the chair beside her, head slightly down, eyes half closed from staying awake the whole night. For the first time in many months, she felt something gentle in her heart. Safety. Armand looked up when he heard her move. Good morning, he said softly. How are you feeling? Sarah tried to sit up, wincing a little. Better, I think. You stayed all night? Armand nodded, rubbing his tired eyes. I said I would. Small silence settled between them, not uncomfortable. Jess knew. Sarah looked around, then back at him. Thank you. For not leaving. Armand gave a small smile. You're welcome. But inside, he felt something deeper, a quiet responsibility. Like he was meant to help her. The doctor checked Sarah again and said she could leave, but she must rest for a few days. When the doctor asked if she had someone to take care of her, her face lowered. She had no family nearby, no friend close enough, and she could not go back to her fiancé's house. Armand stepped forward without thinking. She can stay near my home for a while. My neighbor has an extra room. She will be safe there. Sarah looked at him with surprise. Are you sure? I don't want to trouble you. It's no trouble, Armand said. Everyone needs help sometimes, Sarah agreed quietly. She didn't have anywhere else to go. Armand helped her walk to the small neighborhood where he lived. The streets were narrow, lined with simple houses. People knew each other here. It wasn't rich, but it was safe. When they reached Armand's house, a little girl ran out of the door. Papa, Papa. It was Aaliyah, Armand's daughter, small, lively, with hair tied in two messy ponytails. She hugged Armand tightly, then looked curiously at Sarah. Papa, who is she? Aaliyah asked, eyes full of innocent questions. Armand knelt beside his daughter. This is Sarah. She is hurt. We are helping her, okay? Aaliyah nodded seriously, as if given an important mission. Hi, Sarah, she said with a sweet smile. Sarah smiled back, surprised by how warm that greeting felt. Hello, Aaliyah. Armand took Sarah next door to his kind neighbor, Aunt Ruxana, who agreed immediately to let Sarah use her spare room. The room was small but clean, with a soft bed and a window that let in plenty of sunlight. Sarah ran her fingers lightly across the blanket, feeling safe for the first time in months. You can rest here, Armand said gently. If you need anything, I'm right next door. Sarah sat on the edge of the bed. The weight on her heart felt lighter. Later that afternoon, Aaliyah knocked on Sarah's door. Can I come in? Sarah nodded, smiling. Aaliyah brought a small drawing she made. It showed 3 stick figures, a man, a girl, and a child holding hands. This is you, Aaliyah said, pointing at the girl. And this is Papa, and this is me. Sarah's eyes softened. This is very sweet. Thank you. You look sad, Aaliyah said honestly. So I made you a happy picture. Sarah felt her throat tighten. She hadn't felt kindness like this in years. Throughout the day, Armand checked on her, bringing soup and medicine. Sarah noticed how gentle he was with Aaliyah, how carefully he spoke, how patiently he listened. It was clear he had struggled, yet he still carried softness in his heart. That night, Sarah sat near the window, looking at the quiet street below. For the first time since running away, she felt protected. She whispered to herself, maybe I can start again. Maybe across the small lane, Armand stood outside his house, watching the stars. He didn't understand why he felt such a strong pull to help her, but he did to broken people, living in 2 small houses, but the distance between their hearts was already shrinking. Sarah looked at Armand through the window. Armand looked up and met her eyes, and in that silent moment, something warm passed between them, soft, slow, and impossible to ignore. Days passed quietly, almost peacefully. Sarah spent most of her time resting in the small room next to Armand's home. The bruises on her face started to fade, and the shaking in her hands slowly stopped. She even began to speak more, smile a little, and breathe without fear. But every night, she still locked her door twice. Every sound outside still made her heart jump. Her past wasn't gone, only hiding. Armand noticed the fear in her eyes even when she tried to hide it. He didn't ask questions, but he stayed close, checking on her, bringing food. Sometimes sitting on the steps outside her room so she didn't feel alone. Aaliyah loved visiting Sarah. Every day she knocked excitedly, bringing drawings, stories, or small flowers she found on the road. Sarah always welcomed her with a warm smile, grateful for the little girl's innocent kindness. For a moment, life seemed calm, but calm never lasts long when danger still breathes somewhere in the dark. One evening, just as the sun was setting, Sarah was sitting with Aaliyah, helping her color a picture of a house with a big garden. Aaliyah looked up suddenly. Sarah, why are you scared of the dark? Sarah froze for a moment, surprised by the child's direct question. I'm not scared, she said softly. Aaliyah shook her head. You lock your door like monsters are coming. Sarah's breath caught. Some people can be like monsters, she whispered. Before Aaliyah could ask more, Armand called her home for dinner. She ran out happily, leaving Sarah alone. Sarah closed her eyes and took a deep breath. It was then she heard it, a sound that froze her heart. A car engine, slow, deep, stopping right outside the lane. Her chest tightened. She moved to the window carefully, her hands trembling. A black car she recognized stood at the corner of the street, her fiancé's car. A cold wave ran through her body. She stepped back quickly, almost stumbling. Her breathing grew fast. No. He found me? She whispered. She grabbed her phone, but she had blocked all numbers. She had no one to call. Except Armand. Before she could decide, there was a knock on Aunt Ruxana's front door. Not a soft knock. A hard, angry one. Sarah felt like the floor disappeared under her feet. She heard a man's voice outside. Is a girl named Sarah staying here? Sarah's body shook uncontrollably. She moved backward until her back hit the wall. Another voice spoke. We know she's here. Open the door. It wasn't her fiance's voice, but the voices of his men, the same men who attacked her that night. Sarah couldn't think. She ran to the door and locked it tightly. Then she grabbed a chair and pushed it against the door, her breath breaking into fast, painful gasps. They had found her. She wasn't safe. She never was. Outside, the men shouted again. If you don't open, we will break it. Sarah covered her mouth to stop her own scream. In the next moment, she heard footsteps, fast, angry footsteps. Armand. He appeared in front of the house, eyes sharp, face tense. Who are you? What do you want? One of the men turned toward him. Stay out of this, old man. We want the girl. Armand stepped forward. His voice was strong. You're not getting close to her, the man smirked. You think you can stop us? Armand didn't answer. He didn't need to. His eyes said everything. He would die before letting them touch her. The second man moved closer, getting ready to push Armand. But suddenly, neighbors started opening their windows. Some came out on the street. One shouted, "What's happening?" Another said, "We're calling the police." The attackers looked around. Too many witnesses. Too many lights. Let's go. One of them hissed angrily. But this isn't over. He got into the black car and sped away. Armand rushed to Sarah's door and knocked. Sarah, it's me. You're safe. It's okay. Open the door. Inside, Sarah slid down the wall, crying silently. Her hands were shaking so badly she couldn't reach the lock. Armand kept knocking gently. It's okay. They're gone. I'm here. Nothing will happen to you. Slowly, she stood up and unlocked the door with trembling fingers. The moment the door opened, she fell into Armand's arms, breaking into tears. I can't escape them. They will never stop, she cried. Armand held her tightly. As long as I'm alive, no one will hurt you. And for the first time, Sarah believed that someone truly meant those words. The night after the attack felt heavier than usual. Sarah sat quietly in Armand's living room, wrapped in a blanket. Her hands still trembled a little, but she was calmer now. Armand sat on the opposite sofa, watching her with worried eyes. Aaliyah was asleep in her small room, unaware of the danger outside. The whole house felt small but warm, like a shelter. Built from kindness, Sarah broke the silence first. I'm sorry. For bringing danger to your home? Armand shook his head immediately. You didn't bring danger. Those men brought it. And I won't let them hurt you again. Sarah looked down, her voice soft. I don't want to destroy your peace. You didn't, Armand said calmly. You're fighting for your life. That is not wrong. There was something strong in his voice. Not anger, not fear, but something protective. Something Sarah had never heard from anyone else. For the first time, she felt like she didn't have to run alone. The next morning, Armand took Sarah to the police station. With courage she didn't know she had, she told the officer everything. The abuse, the threats, the attack. The officer listened closely and promised action. You're not alone now, Armand reminded her. When they returned home, Aaliyah ran to them happily. Sarah, look, I made a drawing. It was another picture. This time, 3 stick figures again. But instead of standing apart, they were standing together inside a little house. There was a heart above them. Sarah held the paper close to her chest. "Thank you, Aaliyah. I love it. You can stay here always," Aaliyah said with a wide smile. "Papa also likes you." Armand coughed awkwardly. "Aaliyah, go wash your hands. Breakfast is ready." Aaliyah giggled and ran away. Sarah smiled shyly, and Armand felt a warmth inside his chest he hadn't felt in years. Days slowly turned into weeks. The neighborhood kept an eye out for any strange activity. The police were still searching for Sarah's fiancé and his men. But for now, life became calmer again. Sarah helped in small ways, cooking sometimes, helping Aaliyah with homework, watering plants with Aunt Ruxana. She laughed more. Her eyes shined brighter. The dark circles faded. Armin watched all this quietly. Every time she smiled, something inside him softened. One evening after dinner, they sat outside on the steps while Aaliyah played with her toys. The air was calm, the sky full of stars. Sarah spoke softly. "When I came here, I was broken. I thought I would never be able to smile again." "You're stronger than you believe," Armand replied. "Maybe," she whispered, "but you helped me remember that life can still be kind." Armand looked at her, his voice low. "You helped me too." Sarah blinked, confused. "Helped you?" Armand nodded. "Since my wife died, my life was only work and responsibility. I forgot how to live. But when you came, the house stopped feeling empty." Sarah's heart beat faster. Armand continued, "You brought light back into Alia's life too. She laughs more now. She draws more. She feels loved." Sarah looked down, touched deeply. "I didn't do anything special." "You did," Armand said. "You healed something in this home." Silence settled between them. Soft and warm, Sarah finally whispered, "You healed me too." Armand's eyes met hers, and the world became quiet. Before he could speak, they heard footsteps. Aunt Ruxana came out smiling. "The police called," she said. "They caught him, the fiancé. It's over." Sarah covered her mouth as tears filled her eyes, but these were not tears of fear. They were tears of freedom. She turned toward Armand. "It's really over. I'm free." Armand nodded gently. "Yes, you're safe now." Aaliyah ran to them and hugged both tightly. "Now we can be happy family," she said cheerfully. Sarah and Armand looked at each other, surprised. Shy but smiling. Armand spoke softly. "Only if you want that." Sarah wiped her tears, took a deep breath, and nodded. "I want that." More than anything, Armand reached for her hand. She didn't pull away. Their fingers intertwined naturally, as if it was always meant to be. Two broken hearts. Two lonely lives. Now standing together, stronger than before, and under the quiet night sky. Something new began. Not rushed, not forced, but gentle, healing, and full of hope. A second chance at love. A new family. A new beginning.